Hello, Michelle.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to Creative Confessions. You are my first feature, like my first guest feature. So I'm so excited to be talking to you, kind of interviewing you a bit, chatting with you, and bringing your knowledge and you to my audience. So first, I just want to say that for the audience listening, I met Michelle through Web Designer Pro, and I could not be more impressed. Like the first time I joined Pro, I already loved the atmosphere, loved the things, loved all the people, but Michelle really stuck out to me, and I watched all of her trainings first. I think I watched all of your trainings because I watched one and then I was like, she's got some good stuff. Let me go watch the other ones. And I learned something new every single time that I talk to you, or that you're like in Pro, or I just hear about you. Like, I'm always learning something new and I'm just excited about it. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm honestly honored to be your first guest.
Yeah, super excited about that. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about AI search, because your last training in Pro was about AI search. And I was so impressed by the thorough research that you did in figuring out why search is the way it is and why the intent is there and all of those research pieces. And so that's one thing that I want to dive in a little bit about. First is your passion for research, because not everybody is passionate about research and comes in smiling and is excited. Like every time you talk about the things that you're finding and learning and growing and using with your own clients, you're so passionate about it. And that's one thing that sticks out to me. So I'll let you take it away.
So yeah, that is me. That's so awesome. And thank you so much for watching all my videos and for coming to my talk and Web Designer Pro. That was amazing. And so basically, maybe the best way to explain me is that I'm a historian, right? So right now I'm an SEO, I do copywriting, I do SEO for small sites. But like all of my training for like a decade was actually doing historical research, right? So I have a PhD in African history. I got a PhD from Stanford in 2012. And so most of my life was spent like reading really boring stuff, but I love it. People usually hate keyword research, like in the SEO world, right? I can't tell you how many people I've gotten on calls and they say, oh, I'm so glad you like keyword research because like I hate it. Like it makes my brain explode. But for me, like that is so much like it's research, right? Like it's the research that I love to do, except I get to do it from the comfort of my home, like with a coffee. I don't actually have to travel to Africa to do it.
Yes.
And so, I spent years traveling to Africa, going to like the beautiful archives in Kew, like in London. And, looking at people's mail and like reading minutes from meetings that like happened in the 1920s. And I just love this stuff. Like, that's just like, I'm built that way. And so I, took pictures and I took notes on all these things and I wrote a 400-page dissertation and it was great fun. And basically no one has read that dissertation. Like I probably, 10, 15 people have read it. But I enjoyed doing it. And so that's kind of like the person that I bring to the SEO that I do. And sometimes I get to like use more of those skills than others. But this particular moment, I just feel myself using more and more of those skills, like the things that I learned a decade ago. One of which is just reading boring stuff and enjoying it, is just like become incredibly relevant. So basically, I mean, I'm sure everybody, it's like, we talk about AI enough in society. So I'm sure everyone's heard of it. But I am the type of person that needs to know how something works. And so I've really been following this like since 2021, about like the whole AI stuff hit the SEO world before it hit the rest of the world. So I've been following it and paying attention, and I didn't exactly know why I was paying attention, but like I was reading the research papers and trying to figure out like what's going on, like how does this word machine work? But then basically a year ago is when, and I explained this in my talk in Pro, a year ago is when chatbots, like, ChatGPT, Gemini, all those things, they got access to search engines as a tool. So like, it's not just generating based on its world knowledge, based on like all the pre-training, it's actually generating based on like searches that it did and stuff that it found on the internet. So that to me is very interesting. And so then I basically spent the last 6 months doing like a pretty deep dive. Like I got a stack of papers like this. And I took them, I was taking them to coffee shops and keeping myself awake while having chai lattes. And so I read like Google patents, research papers, books, like basically anything that I could learn about how AI search works, like how chatbots use search engines. So fascinating stuff. And then my goal was to understand it, of course, through my own work. Like I'm doing this for clients. I'm helping clients show up well in like AI search answers. So I had to do it for me. But one thing that I've always really loved about just this like entrepreneurial world and like honestly pro especially is like I like explaining things that are really complicated simply. Like that's just something I've always loved to do. And so as I was doing this research project, I was like, I actively was figuring out analogies and figuring out ways to like explain it in like a super not technical way. And like, let's be clear, I'm a historian and I'm reading machine learning like papers and patents. I'm not deeply understanding them. Like I cannot do the math, right? Like I couldn't tell you how to do a matrice. Don't know it. But I do know how to read difficult stuff. Like that's what my degree was in. And so I learned how to like glean information from difficult texts. And so basically I came up with this way of explaining how AI search works. And now basically I'm on a mission to like tell people how the machine works. And so part of that was presenting in pro, and I'm going on podcasts, and I'm like gone to a bunch of different private communities now, and I'm talking about it in my newsletter. But yeah, I mean, the truth is that like I come by it quite naturally. Like my researchy side, like if anything, I usually try to hide it because people, it's a little overwhelming actually.
I love it.
But from my background, it makes perfect sense that I'm doing what I'm doing. And even when I'm doing like research into, so right now I'm doing research into like how companies are showing up in AI search answers. So like I'm reading the outputs of ChatGPT, of AI mode, of AI overviews, like over time, you know, like every day I check it. I mean, I use tools. I don't do it. But I'm taking notes on AI search answers. And it's just like, it's shocking to me how much it's like taking notes on the archive. Like it's the same thing. Like the academic inside of me is very happy that the skills that I learned ages ago are like actually relevant. And honestly, my day-to-day work as an SEO is more like my history research than it was 5 years ago before AI, which is like really fun for me and kind of like not how I saw this going. So yeah, I don't know. I love my life right now. It's pretty fun.
That, first of all, that's amazing. Second of all, like, again, just talking to you right now, like your passion for what you do is coming through. And that's one thing that I've noticed about you is that even the complex topics and you reading through those things, you make it so simple and easy for other people to understand. And not only easy for us to understand, but easy for us to remember because the way you present your information, like, I mean, every single time that you have a training or anything I listen to, I'm like, I always remember something and I take that piece away. I mean, you were part of the reason I started doing like site credit pages on my clients' websites. And that helps with like SEO and AI search and things. Cause I've actually had, I can't remember what I typed into ChatGPT, but it was something about one of my clients and my site page actually like a snippet from that came up. Yeah, it was weird. I
remember you sharing that in pro and I was like, yes, like, especially because when I gave that original presentation, that was before AI.
Yeah.
Right? So like the good SEO of 5 years ago is still good SEO now. I mean, there's some changes, but I'm not actually starting fresh. It's not like I need to learn a whole new tool set. The truth is like good SEO from 5 years ago, if you were doing it right, if you were doing it like in a non-sketchy way, if you weren't just trying to game the algorithms, like if you were really trying to like help out your users and educate Google, then you're sitting pretty now. And so, yeah, I'm just like, I love it. There's like, and I really do think that like smaller sites, I mean, it's not all good news for small sites. I work on small sites. It's not all good news for small sites in this world of AI search, but like, it's not all terrible news either. And I think like your page that you wrote about site credits and you coming up in answers because there was a page on the internet for it to reference.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool. And you know what? I bet that was almost exactly a year ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was.
I think it was too, because
when the chat bots got access to search, right? Like that's when I started hearing all this stuff. I started hearing it from my clients. Like the first year of AI chatbots, I did not hear my clients like getting leads from ChatGPT. And the second year of AI chatbots, I have. So like really, truly a year ago, when you know ChatGPT got search and then everything else, like that made a huge difference for small sites. And like those are the sites I care about. I don't care about the other ones.
Yeah.
And so just to say, like it's actually surprisingly good news.
And so when you talk about small sites, and I know that that's a part of your brand and a part of your passion. Where does that come from? Are you, you specifically say small sites, and when you define small sites, are you talking like, oh, just a one-page site? Or are you talking about just like the ecosystem of a small business and having that site?
So this is really coming out of my own, and like, because this is a branding podcast, like this is really coming out of my rebranding.
Yeah.
So before, I can't even know what year, 2 or 3 years ago, I rebranded as Words on the Rise. So that's my company. Like before that, I was called Edited by Michelle. So I trained as a copy editor. My story is, got a PhD in history, have kids, can't travel to Africa. Doesn't sound super like family friendly.
Yeah.
So I trained to become an editor, and then I started changing the words on websites, and I'm like, oh, Google notices when you change the words on websites. And so that's how I became an SEO. Like I fell into SEO that way through words. And I did just fine with Edited by Michelle, but I was mostly doing SEO with a company that was called Edited by Michelle. And it just got to a point where I was like, this is legitimately confusing. Like I wouldn't hire me to do SEO if my company was called Edited by Michelle.
Yeah.
And so I rebranded for Words on the Rise, which kind of like put both of those things together. Like that, it's both my SEO side and my copy side. And so I'm totally forgetting your question. Oh, why small sites?
Yes.
So when I rewrote my website, when I was rewriting Words on the Rise, I was like, who do I really love working with? Like, what have been my biggest success stories doing SEO? Like, what is, who are my ideal clients? And I just like noticed that all the best projects that I did, the things that I absolutely love doing, the things that I got the best results for, they all kind of just fell under this like category of small sites. And I sort of knew that I liked working with smaller companies. And it's that I can have more of an impact on the website if it's a small site. I mean, if it's a huge, big e-commerce company with thousands of pages, then like that's more of a technical job. That's less of a words job.
Yeah.
And so that's how I ended up. And so in a sense, it's become my niche, even though it's not really a niche. Like it's not an industry. Like it's just small sites. On my homepage, you can see, I think it says, buy small sites. I mean exactly what you think I mean. And then I have like examples of what a small site is. And I say, most of the sites I work on have less than 100 pages, and some of them have only 10. So one-page websites, I have absolutely done SEO for one-page websites. The gains are smaller. It's just like, it's good to have a website. That's the most important thing. So from 0 to 1 page is a really important shift. But like, you should probably go higher than that because you need to like educate Google more than just 1 page. So I rarely work on one-page websites, but like no shade on 1-page websites because like it's an important stage in a business. But you should aim for 10.
Yeah.
And my own website isn't big, right? Like I have literally 8 blog posts. And like maybe I'll write another one. But I have sites that are doing very, very nicely on 15 blog posts. You don't need a big site in order to get traffic from Google that is valuable.
And is there a particular reason why, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you do more national SEO than local SEO? Because again, we have some pros that do the local side of things.
Yes.
And that's kind of more the realm that I'm in right now as I provide, SEO services to my clients, and I've gotten great results from them. I actually have a client with a website that's a 1-page, like it's a homepage, but we have a couple other things in there. And she's ranking on like showing up in ChatGPT and ranking for like nationwide and not nationwide, statewide for her, service, which is really cool.
And you know what? Like my advice on like 1-page websites doesn't cut it usually for SEO. Is really old advice, right? Like that could have totally changed in the world of like ChatGPT. Like that might be changing significantly. And remember, I'm almost positive that your client has a 1-page website plus a Google business profile, correct?
Oh yeah. And we optimize, like I'm always keeping up with her Google business profile. And I think that having those, and of course I plan on adding more pages as we do things, but it's done well for her so far. And so just seeing those things, Yeah.
So just to say, like her online presence isn't only 1 page. And I think that's what's so crucial. I think if it's a 1-page website and there's no other properties attached to it, probably that wouldn't work very well. But so why do I do national SEO?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's just because that's how I got started. And that's how that's where I just developed my expertise first. So the people that I was working with at the very beginning had a national reach. They needed a national reach. They taught online. They did a really niche-y thing, and needed to find their audience globally. And like kind of as even like the testimony that she has on my site says, the best way to do that is with a website. and so like it's when you have a very niche audience and you deliver that service online or you somehow sell online, national SEO can be quite powerful. Because there's really just no other way to get across the whole country to find, you know, that one person who's in Idaho and that one person who's in Wisconsin and that one person who's in Michigan. And so that's kind of where I developed my expertise. So it's not that I do zero local SEO. It's that I don't do Google business profiles. That is just like its own algorithm. And I like have such respect for people that do it, but I just like don't have room in my head for another algorithm. So I often partner with people to like because the keyword research is the same, right? Like keyword research is keyword research. They put something in the box in Google and like out comes a map pack and search results. So the keyword research that I do is very like relevant for local SEO. But I don't optimize Google business profiles. I know a bunch of stuff about it, but like, I'm not really a specialist in that. So I give tips to people, but like, I'm hardly the one to look for on like, what's the newest and the hottest in Google business profile. And also it's a different tool set too, right? So like I have Ahrefs, I have AI visibility tools. And I do sign up for local tracking tools, but like, it's a whole different tool set. And, you know, that means a couple more $100 a month for me. So I already spend enough on tools, so that's why I don't tend to do it. But yeah, it's funny. I think that there's like they're just different, right? Like local SEO and national SEO. And I get where like people might think that national SEO is somehow like fancier and like harder because it's national, but like really it's just different. It's not. They're both equally complex. And so mostly it's just that like I know myself and I'm better when I focus in on things that I'm really good at and like do less, like have less packages, have less services that I offer, but like go so deep in them rather than I do all the things and then like I don't have a good process for anything and I'm reinventing the wheel like every time I pick up a new project. So I actually try to like actively take things off of my services menu as I add new things for AI, because like I'm just one person. I have no interest in like having a team. And so like I need to keep it to a human scale.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And it's funny because I feel like we're like the same side of, or the same coin, but different sides. Cause like you love like the national SEO stuff and I haven't really explored much into that, but I am so like the local SEO. I love Google business profiles. Like just an optimized Google business profile is like chef's kiss. Like I'm like, if I could get that done, I just love it. And so it's kind of funny just seeing like the differences, but also the SEO is still the same. But I love SEO just because like the results that I've been able to get from my clients, like there's tangible, like, hey, how'd you, find us? You found us on Google. Okay. And that resulted in, $2,000 in, services. Okay. There's a correlation. There's an ROI. Sometimes it's not as clear with branding or just a website, but the SEO part is sometimes more clear than anything else. And so I love it.
And it's also like, yes, it's closer to something that you could attribute. Like I did X and Y happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is just a game element to it that's really fun, right? Like there's the winning and the losing, which is just like, there's some adrenaline there. Although you have to be careful to not like, measure your self-worth by your rankings. Like that's a really important thing to keep in mind, that you don't control Google. Like you just have best practices. You just have your smarts and your ability to notice patterns and your like ability to optimize, and you learn from each new project. Like that's kind of how you have to do it. But yeah, like, I mean, Google giveth and Google taketh away. But once that lead comes and they spend $2,000 on your client's site, like then no taking that away. Like that's real stuff now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is and the way I see it is that like the branding, the website, and the copy, like all those three pieces are just like absolutely essential foundations, right? So like all of those things, like you could have the world's best Google business profile that ranks awesomely and like gets so much traffic from Google even. And then like if they land on your site and they're like, this looks like it's from the 80s or I guess the 90s, that would be a problem. And you won't actually convert that traffic. And so like the it's less tangible, but it's more of like it opens the floodgates or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so like once you have a website that converts, like you know that when people come to your website, oh yeah, they tend to like fill out your lead form and become a client of yours, or at least some percentage does. Like once you've passed that bar, which is all website copy design. Once you've passed that bar, and offer, I guess, also offer, then you work on the things that grow the site, which is local SEO or national SEO or email marketing or social media or like networking events or skywriting or whatever it is to get people to the site.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Cause like and that's why I kind of, when I think of my services, cause that's like my specialty is branding, websites, and SEO. Designed to convert is what I always say in my little pitch. But so you always want to focus on the branding, because then that's going to dictate your offers and what you offer out there, your copy, your style direction, everything. Then you build the website, which is, contains all of that. And once you have a site to convert, then you can grow it. Because again, I've seen people throw so much money at SEO or even paid ads, and their site is still something DIY that, you can't even read the contrast on it, the color contrast, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's just things like that I'm like, ooh, yeah.
In a sense, it's much easier to fix the things on your site, right? Like, I feel like you have complete control over your branding, your offers, your copy, your website. You don't have complete control over Google. And so you don't, there are no promises that you're going to get traffic. And so much better to invest heavily, like do all the stuff at the front end to make sure that your site is converting. That's really the thing. It's like you need to like have proof that people are buying your thing before you go out and market the thing, or at least spend a lot of money marketing the thing. Can I tell you a branding story about when I rebranded?
Yes, I would love that.
So I did not know you when I rebranded my website. And so I hired a different person in pro, Lisa Breet. So it's Lisa Breet. She's amazing. So Live Creative is her company. And I'd seen her in pro a lot and I loved her work. Like she was just really awesome. She was obviously an awesome branding like specialist. And I needed a logo. I picked out the name. And that took forever. But once I picked out the name, I came to her and then we did a logo and all the branding elements and we went through the whole process, like she just, I'm sure exactly like similar to what you do, like what does your brand stand for? And like, what do you want people to feel when they're doing the brand? And I had never done any of those things the first time around. And then loved everything she put together. She was a joy to work with. But and then she was so good. I was planning on making my own site because like I do technically know how, but she was so good when she was just like kind of mocking up what it might look like. And I'm like, I just have to hire you because like, I don't know how to do that thing you're doing. And so then I've now hired her. Now she's my ongoing web designer. But this is the story I want to say of the value of branding. Because like I had a successful business before I rebranded. Like I was always booked up, like no problem before when I was edited by Michelle. And then when I rebranded with a nice, like aligned website that like had I rewrote my copy and my copy like really said what I did and wasn't just like, stuff that I had thrown together 3 years earlier. So I had new copy, new website, new branding, and I actually had to raise my prices. Like there was so much change in my life at the time. I was like, when I initially launched, I was like, I cannot handle more change. I'm just going to leave my prices what they were because like, they're fine. I know that they work. People love it. It's great. I'll leave my prices the same. I'll think about it in 6 months. And so then about like a couple months after I launched the new website, I was literally having people like tell me like, what's the catch? Like, how can you do this? I had somebody say, how can you do this so cheaply? And I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing. Like,
oh no.
Like, that's like, I was like, I need to change like my branding. So the moral of the story is A, raise your prices. But B, like my branding had leveled up and my prices hadn't. And that was causing like a branding mismatch that was actually causing people to have like actual like distrust in my services. Like maybe she's terrible. And so just to say, like, I had to raise my pricing because I had leveled up my branding. Which of course does wonder for like, my business broadly, and really shows like directly like the importance of investing in branding. And so I know that you're a brander, you'd probably love to know that story, but like truly, I had to raise my prices because the new brand like justified that in a way that the old brand absolutely didn't. I mean, my old brand was all like antique books and like kind of like antique library themed.
Yeah.
Which is very me.
Yes.
But like it's hardly like tech forward SEO stuff. So just to say my new brand is slightly better for what I'm trying to sell.
I love that. And I kind of I love that story about branding and how powerful that is. And one thing that I love about your brand is your name. And so it's really interesting that you came up with your name.
Mm.
What kind of story do you have behind that? Because I know
Oh,
naming a business and a brand is so hard.
so hard. And I mean, yes. So basically, I mean, it took months. And this is so embarrassing for somebody. Talk about creative confessions. This is so embarrassing for someone who like professes to be a word nerd. I actually didn't come up with my brand name. So I had 1,000 names. Like I had a huge list. One of the names I really wanted was like words on the web. And if you look that up now, some like guy has like a hand-coded ancient site on wordsontheweb.com. And I wish I had that name, but I can't have it. So that's fine. And I love that like it's not a big company. Like it's just some guy and his web blog, which is so cool. So that wasn't available. That was the one that I would have done, but I really wanted a .com. I just like, what's the point in not doing it? What's the point in not having a .com? And so I had 1,000 different variations, many of them like plays on words and included the word words because I knew that was the one thing that was going to always hold me together. Like no matter what what I end up doing in 5 years, like I am a word person, like to my core. And so like words on the rise will always describe whatever it is that I choose to do next. But actually the way that the actual name came to be was my husband was helping me, come up with names. And at one point he texts me and he says, "How about Words on the Rise?" And I'm like, awesome, perfect. Like that is the right one. And get this, he's Francophone and he doesn't even really know like what the idiom on the rise really means. And so like he came up with that without even realizing how good of a name it was. And I was the one that was like, that's genius. And like that nice history that I bought the .com quite soon after. And then I was just so relieved to finally have a brand name so that I could continue on with the branding process. But yeah, I'm really glad that I waited to get the right word. I don't even remember what most of them were, the other options, because like they're just not real anymore. But yeah, it did consume me for a couple months. And then my whole family, like everybody was involved.
Like we have to make her pick a name.
Yeah, I put my family to work. Well, like they're smart people. But I just thought it was so funny that like he wrote it to me as like, it was one of many texts back and forth about possible names. And he wasn't particularly wedded to it because I don't think he really got it. Like he didn't understand. And the way I see it is that like, I work with words. Everything I do revolves around words and using words on websites to help them rank and help Google understand them. And then On the Rise has like a kind of like generally positive connotation, right? Like there's nothing negative about On the Rise. And so kind of like it hints towards like you'll make more money and it hints towards your rankings will go up, but it doesn't make any like direct promises about those things.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's why I always love it. It's just like a generally positive phrase. And I've really come to love it. So I'm happy about it.
No, I love it. And like, that's one of the first things I was thinking about when I, got introduced to your brand and stuff is like words on the rise. I always think like, SEO and words, and then it's rising in the rankings. And I'm like, that's so genius. And it's also not too like, it's still a little, I don't know what you call it, artistic or a little like abstract. So it's not as like, oh, and we'll make you rank or we'll, do this thing. It's like got that like artistic kind of flair to it, which also goes into your brand too. And like the visuals and things. So I just think it's all tied together perfectly. I love it.
Well, and that is really, we have to thank Lisa Breet for that one because in my head, like originally when we came up with the name, it was like a total cheesy, like, words on the rise, like, arrow going up. And she's like, no. No. Yes, you could use an arrow. That is possible. But like, you're bigger than that. Like, you're not just I think she called it like a nameless, faceless digital marketing company. She's like, that's what a digital marketing company that you never get to know the person would be. Yeah. And so like, if you're going to be the center of this brand, like it needs to be more than just like the emoji that goes up. And so she's completely right. Like absolutely completely right. And so that was really like her taking me away from a kind of very boring interpretation of what Words on the Rise would have been to something more expansive.
Yes. Well, I love that. And I love that story. Another thing that stuck out to me with your, like everything that you've done so far is your fully into AI search. Like that's one thing that you're super about right now. And so that kind of leads me into how is that changing right now? Because I feel like I hear something new every day. Like what's going on?
Well, literally there is something new every day. So like it's not, it is hard to keep up with. So is now a good time for me to give you my creative confession.
Yes.
Because I haven't actually always been this bullish on AI search, which is hilarious for somebody whose company is called Words on the Rise. So honestly, one of the reasons why I called my business Words on the Rise and not something that involved the word SEO is because I was not entirely sure if I would be doing SEO like 3 years later. And so I knew I would be doing words. And so I was like, okay, good. But like even when I relaunched, I kind of saw that there was a bit of a pivot going on in the world of search. And I wasn't very happy about it. So like I had long worked on small websites. My clients for a very long time had done very well by like writing, subject matter experts, like wonderful people that are really skilled in what they do, writing great content, blog posts, like informational pages on their sites that ranked really highly. And then people came to their websites via Google, and then they landed on the website and they're like, oh, this person's awesome, I'm going to hire them. And so like, that's how content marketing 101 works. Like, that's what I've been doing this whole time. And so, in a world where ChatGPT or like just the foundation models, like OpenAI is going to go slurp up the entire internet and then rewrite and republish the stuff that my clients had written onto their own website and provide very little attribution. That is like not a world I wanted to participate in, right? Like, so I just was like, I'm an academic, right? Like it comes back to the fact that like plagiarism is a real problem in my world. Like accurate citations are something that are like holy ground to me. And so like, given that that's who I am, I just like looked at where the world was heading. And I really honestly didn't think that I could recommend SEO, or at least the kind of SEO that I was doing, to small sites. So my confession is that like 2 years ago, I was probably going to quit SEO. And I was honestly, my backup plan was to be a copywriter. And like, that's also a problem AI wise.
Yeah.
So I really didn't think I was going to stay in this, or I didn't know exactly how I was going to navigate it. However, like, and this is why I'm so excited about it now, is that this is the thing that like, when I was saying like a year ago, when the AI engines were given access to search, then it kind of just changed everything in terms of how small sites were in fact showing up in those AI search results. And my clients, the same ones who for the first year of AI weren't getting any clients from ChatGPT, started coming to me and saying like, you wouldn't believe it, like this amazing client showed up at my door and they found me through ChatGPT. And so then that's really what like kicked off my intense period of research, because, well, for starters, I needed to know like, how are they doing in search? Like, how's this working? And then after realizing like, oh, my clients are actually doing pretty well in ChatGPT. After realizing that, then I'm like, how does the machine work? And then like, and then enter like, the last year of my life. And now the fact that and really like, it took me a year to get to a place where I knew how to talk about it, like without sounding like a crazy person. like to be honest, like every time I would go in circles. Like it was hard for me to talk about AI search in a way that didn't make me look like I was like howling at the moon or something, because it was such a new technology and nobody really understood it. And I understood it, but I did not know how to explain it. And so that's what really took me a year, was like getting to a place where like I knew where to go. I knew the analogies to use. I knew what to get into, what to stay away from, like what particular details were just distractions and not like important to really explaining to people how it works. And like beyond my business, like I'm having conversations with people about this in my everyday life. Like I'm on some level, we all are, but like I see people using ChatGPT in front of me. I was just like with a friend, like on Tuesday at lunch, and I'm like, you see that error there, right? Like that's not real. Like, and then he's like, I'll just ask ChatGPT what the sources were. And I'm like, do you know how that works? And so just to say that like, I'm obnoxious in everyday life as well. But just to say that I think the way that the machine was made with this box, right, that says ask anything, it's really a design decision to make us feel inclined to pour our hearts out to this little box and to ask every question, expecting that digital God is going to give us the answer. And it's like the oracle from on high, right?
Yeah.
And like they did that on purpose. That was a design decision. And it is working out from them from like a user engagement perspective. But I think that they're like, society needs to catch up. And I think like my presentation that I'm giving is important for entrepreneurs, is important for people with websites, is important for people who want to show up better in AI search. But my like subversive, other project is like, I just want to teach people how the machine works so that they can use it critically, so that they know when to trust it, when not to trust it, like what to use it for, what not to use it for. Because frankly, like that machine is not doing that teaching. And so like I just feel like I need to tell people like, this is how the machine works, because like not a lot of people know.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And like to know that it was a design decision. And I think that also feeds into people like, again, when we make those decisions on how things interact, the user experience, those fundamental things, we have to kind of give it that flavor of whatever we want them to feel. And so what people are feeling when ChatGPT is that they can trust it. They can, it's the answer to everything. It's got their back. It's their, people calling it their bestie. I use it for everything. It's like that, that thing.
Yep.
And I love ChatGPT too. But is there, when you're talking about this to people or explaining it, is there like a simplified version of like something you could tell us or tell the audience that they can keep in the back of their head and remember when talking about AI search and different things?
So let me give you like a super, super simple version. If you, at the end, I'll talk about my newsletter and then you can get a bigger version there. But I'm going to give you like a different version actually right now, which is pay attention. So if you use AI mode, which is like Google's answer to ChatGPT, it's all over the place now. You can find it. It's very easy to find. Watch what happens after you do the search. It says looking at searching X websites, looking at X websites, and then thinking. And then, all of this is just because it actually takes a little while for them to process it. So they're just like keeping you distracted with these like little things. But it is actually doing all of those things. And so the answers that it's coming up with are not like answers that are necessarily perfectly correct. It's just doing a lot of searching on your behalf. And so this is the sort of under the hood thing that people need to understand, is that what especially AI mode is doing is it's going out and it's finding like, it's doing a ton of Googling for you. It's going in the background. It's doing like a big research project on Google and finding little bits and pieces of things that might be answers to your questions that might be helpful. And then it's writing an answer based on that as background research. And so it's not that it's wrong or it's right, but it's like only as good as the information that it found. Yeah. And unfortunately, the nature of predictive text, which is like what these machines really are, they're always just predicting the next most likely word. The nature of predictive text is that sometimes it gets creative and it just makes stuff up. And so there is a high hallucination rate. And yet the machine is so persuasive in its writing, in its ability to write, that it's very hard for us, like flesh and blood humans, to identify the hallucinations versus the facts. Like it's always going to come off very confident, even when it is terribly wrong. And yeah, so I think everyone should just know that. I also think it's genuinely useful for like needle in a haystack questions. Like I'm doing a lot of like automation stuff right now, and I'm using a new software tool, and like I'm using it just like everybody else. Like it is able to find accurate information on the internet in a way that like Google was not able to before. I'm asking like these ridiculously long prompt-like things into the Google box, and it's finding stuff. And then I'm going to the website and I'm actually making sure that it's correct, because like half the time it's not. But like for the times that it is, it's like really shortcutting me to an answer in ways that like old Google search couldn't do. And so like it is genuinely useful, but I think everybody just has to put their like critical lenses on as they're doing it, and not just assume that everything that they read in a ChatGPT or an AI mode chat is somehow true. Just because it's like presented so convincingly, it really doesn't, like really truly, like there's a lot of errors in there, but it also does have some truth, and it's doing a very deep search of the internet, which is genuinely helpful. And so you just need to use it like in a way where you understand how it works. And so like my tip to people, like the sort of the takeaway of like how you can keep it in your head, is just like every time you see that little animation, like kicking off 17 searches, looking at 57 websites, just think to yourself, like, this is based off a web search. Yeah. It is based off a web search. So like it's as good or as bad as the internet at best. And like, and like take that for that what you will, but like actually click on the citations and see if it's correct, and see if you trust like the results that are there. Like, does that look like a legitimate website? Yes or no? Like, when you click on that citation, does it actually back up what you just read in the chat or not? And you'll find if you click on the citations, quite often it doesn't. But it can be really useful for finding really detailed information that like you otherwise wouldn't find. It's like it's both, right? And so like it's neither good, it's not bad, it's a tool, you can use it, but it's better if you use it knowing how the tool works.
That's awesome. And like, yeah, I totally understand that too. With the everything that you use, like AI search or chat GPT for, are there use cases where you think that things are better than others or like that you enjoy using it for?
Meaning like different engines that are better than others, or like different use cases that are better
Use
than others?
cases. Like, for example, I like to use chat GPT for if I have an idea or I have like a niche type of like website thing, or I'm looking for a tutorial and I can't find what the tutorial is, I'll like describe it in ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, can you find me a tutorial that does this or that does it for like websites, for example, because I love adding all kinds of custom code and things to my websites, and just like cool features. And sometimes I don't have the right words for what it's actually called, like what the technical terms are. Like for the longest time, like the little scrolling bar on the website, like I code those, but I had no idea it was called a scrolling marquee. Like that was just not like, I was like scrolling bar, scrolling this, and I could not find it. And then when I was like, typing in, even like screenshotting, providing examples, it was like immediately found me a tutorial and I'm like, I know I can do it. So like, that's a good use case that I use all the time for it. So I'm just kind of wondering what you use it for.
Yeah. So let me do two. One is like a boring use case and one is like slightly deeper. So the first one is, it is a really great thesaurus. Like this is the world's, I have a thesaurus on my shelf. I do not use it anymore. And that's like literally, I mean, I will not get into the geeky details of how these things are trained, but like the way that it is trained inherently makes it to be a very good thesaurus, which is why it's so good at finding the word for you, right? Like the way that it stores in the neural network is like words that are similar to each other are held together. Mm-hmm. And so like sometimes like when I'm doing SEO research, I need to find, like in one case I have an interior design client. And so I'm looking for like, I want to find all of the words that are associated with houses and rooms, right? Mm-hmm. And so old school SEO, I would just go to the keyword research database and go find all the different keywords about like how to decorate X room, how to decorate Y room type thing. Living room, kitchen, dining room, bathroom. And so one of the things that I've done, which is pretty fun use case of AI and like absolutely legit, given how the machine is trained, is I just put in that list, like kitchen, dining room, bathroom. And then I'm like, hey, AI, what else you got down there? Like, what else is like it finishes a list like that really well. Mm-hmm. And so like it finds foyer, it finds like a kitchen nook or like, breakfast nook and this kind of like things I wouldn't have thought of. And then I take that data and then I go bring it to a real keyword research database. Cause like obviously ChatGPT is not a keyword research database. Yeah. Even though it will output keyword research numbers, like don't trust, those are based on literally nothing. Yeah. So then you take it over to like a real keyword research database and find out if anybody really is looking to style their breakfast nook. Mm-hmm. But like I never would have thought of breakfast nook on my own, but like the way that these machines are trained, like it's great at like finding other words like the words that you have. So that's like a kind of interesting, like kind of, I guess, interesting to me, but probably pretty niche case. On the other side, is like I just have, this is just my own personal philosophy, and like I am not being judgy about how anyone else uses AI. Like this is like, you do what you want to do. But for me, my thing is I don't use it for thinking. And I don't use it for writing. So I like to write. I'm a words person. And like, I don't use it for anything that falls into the category of a skill that I'm always looking to hone. Yeah. So like, I really feel like if I was to use like, AI for writing, like A, I like writing, but B, like, I just feel like I lose a brain cell every time I let ChatGPT do the writing for me. Likewise, for me, the process of writing, the process of like hammering out a first draft, just painful, but like that's thinking, like that's how I think. And so like, I don't ever want to do a first draft in AI because like, then I'm stopping the thinking step, which to me, again, losing a brain cell. So for me, I don't use it for things that are like things that I want to get better at, things that like are part of my own personal human development. But there are things that, I just know I'm not the world's best at. And I really don't have a deep interest in learning. And so like, honestly, I needed a bookmarklet at one point. So like I needed, those little things. It's like, it's a bookmark, but it runs a JavaScript on the thing. And like Gemini writes a mean bookmarklet. Like, I don't know how to code JavaScript, but like I could describe what I wanted. And it, in the course of an hour, I was able to make like a very functional bookmarklet that, scraped the page that I wanted to and exactly the way I wanted. And I got the output that I wanted. So just to say that like, for me, coding is not something that, I'm 43. I'm probably not going to learn JavaScript right now. That's not how my brain works. I'm like, okay at like making my way around some of that stuff, but like, it's not my, I'm hardly a developer. And so for me, the coding stuff has been really useful, but it's like, I'm using it because I'm a writer. I don't want to be a coder. And so, but like where my kids, like my son, really into computer science. I mean, he wants to work for Minecraft. That's like he's
that's
11.
So cool.
He's 11. So like still a pipe dream. But that's like his dream job. And like for him, I think he shouldn't use it for coding. Not now or not later until he has all those like really foundational skills, right? Like if he goes to university and just gets like ChatGPT write all the code, well then like what's the point? Like you're there for learning. And so I think for me, like even as an adult, even in my middle age, I still like want to keep learning. And so things that I want to learn, I don't go to ChatGPT for. Things that I make kind of a decision that's like, okay, that's out of what I actually want to learn, but I kind of want the output. Like I kind of want the thing. Then I feel pretty confident using it. And I mean, only in like cases where I can, of course, check whether it works, right? Like, there were also a lot of bad bookmarklets that didn't work that it gave me, but eventually I was able to get one that worked. And I was like, I kind of get it. Like, I kind of get why people love ChatGPT because it gave me a skill, like it gave me an output that I could have never done on my own. But I also don't think like I should go around saying like, I wrote that bookmarklet. It's like, I didn't write it. Like I described it. Like, how is that real authorship? And so like, I give credit to ChatGPT for that one. I will not take credit for that bookmarklet.
I know. I love those two use cases because I definitely feel that like, I love creative writing. And like, that's part of the reason I do my newsletter. Like my newsletter feels like one place where I'm working on my brand instead of clients' brands. And it's where I can fully be myself and be quirky and be weird and all that stuff. That's just what I love. So like writing and storytelling for me is like huge. And so that's why in my newsletter, a lot of the times, like I'm writing a story or I'm taking something from my past or a perspective shift and kind of like, writing that out. So I love that. And then coding, I actually did take a coding class at a university. I was good with HTML, good with CSS. Now when I got to JavaScript, that's when all hell broke loose and I had no idea what I was doing. So it's like, but I appreciated having that because now I know, like when I look at code, I'm like, oh, I can see maybe if something's wrong, or I can like easily get in there and edit things, even if I'm not fully writing the code. Having ChatGPT or, another AI thing can help write the code, but a lot of the times it's not entirely correct. Or if you get in there and you can know, hey, this is like why this isn't working, or, this is how to change this color instead of like having it ask you to change a color every time. Like, I mean, it's just like learn those basic foundations.
Yes. I took this is hilarious. And I'm talking about my high school days when that was like, 30 years ago. But I mean, I took a computer class in high school and, did decently in it. It's just, I wasn't like super passionate about it. But I do appreciate like the basics of understanding how code works. That is like a useful skill that I think everybody probably should have. And so, yes, it serves me well in those things. And then, just understanding how sites are put together and like, class, I was able to do the bookmarklet thing because I understood what a CSS class was. And I knew how to target certain things on pages. I just didn't know how to like actually write the code to target that certain thing on a page. And so it's like you go with what you got.
Yeah. With that, that kind of brings me, both of the use cases that you talked about were kind of technical in a way, as far as, using it for the coding thing or using it to find other words. What's your take on people using ChatGPT and other AI search tools for opinion-based things? Because as you know, like if you were to put something into it and it gives an opinion back or feedback, what's your take on that? Because that's not really a technical, it's pulling from things. Is that where it starts to kind of hallucinate? Or is that where it takes information from what it knows from the internet and then gives you its own opinion, like opinionated stuff? I'm kind of curious about that.
When ChatGPT gives an opinion, I honestly think it's creepy. Like to me, like, so it's actually interesting. This actually comes back to real papers that I've read. So like Gemini, Google's model, and ChatGPT's model, they have like a different ethos for like how they're going to train the thing and what it's going to be allowed to do and what it's not going to be allowed to do. And one of the things that I really appreciated about, and I continue to appreciate about Google's approach is that there's a very strong, there's a very strong emphasis on making sure that the model doesn't pretend to be a human. And so like it is just a boring fact machine. And like there's papers about sort of why they did that, and like that it's a little dangerous if, you know, we're all just anthropomorphizing whether we like it or not. And so like they're doing their best to make it so that Gemini specifically like doesn't pretend to be a human. I'm probably not perfect, but then like I'm tracking ChatGPT outputs, right? And like so there's I work for a client who does fertility education stuff. And so I was checking a prompt, which was like, oh, a pretend prompt, obviously. Which like, oh, I have PCOS and I'm really concerned about my cycles. And like, you know, I'm looking for an XYZ instructor. Can you help? And then the response back from ChatGPT was like, I understand that it can be challenging when you have complicated cycles. And I'm like, that's so gross. Like ChatGPT doesn't have a body. ChatGPT doesn't menstruate, right? Like this is not. And so to me, like the machine shouldn't be able to say that. That is just weird. And like ChatGPT isn't sentient, and it certainly isn't cycling. And like, so to me, when ChatGPT gives an opinion on something, I'm like, you're pulling that out of thin air. Like you might as well just like roll the dice. And so like I think as people give their texts to ChatGPT and they say, oh, it's so good, it's like, well, it's made to please you. And so like, yes, it's going to tell you you're amazing. And maybe it's going to find some things that were wrong. But like, I think people just need to remember that all the intelligence in that interaction is your own. And so like, it's not ChatGPT, it's our interpretations of this auto-generated text that is telling us like, so if you notice something, so say you give your writing to ChatGPT and you say, critique it for me and tell me how to make it better. And it gives you a bunch of ideas. Like it's your choice to go through those and say like, which of these are smart and which of these aren't, and then go make those changes. But like, to me, it's fairly random. Like whether those were really smart, intelligent comments that a human would have said, like a smart and intelligent human critiquer of writing would have said, versus like really deep things that actually need fixing. And so like, I wouldn't put a lot of stock in it, but to the extent that it's useful to get you out of your, like, to the extent that it's always useful to like roll the dice and say, yeah, I guess I should look at my transitions. Like that is probably useful. And you should go look at your transitions and see, but like always, like feel free to override, like use your own human intelligence over that intelligence, because like that is kind of just like rolling the dice. And I personally don't think that it's, in terms of opinions, like, I mean, have you met the internet? The internet has a lot of opinions. Like, it was trained on the internet. Like I personally don't align with the whole internet. And so like, I wouldn't align with the things that are coming out of that machine when it comes to opinions.
Yes. And so is there like 100% agree with that, first of all. Second of all, is there a reasoning to the opinions, or like not like the reasoning to the opinions, but like, as you said, like the different way the models were trained, is there a reasoning why, like, oh, you know, ChatGPT is more empathetic or more tries to be more human, like tries to be more pleasing, like is that part of the innate programming, the training, or is that, you know, was that coded in there? Or like, where does that kind of come from?
So, I mean, at their base, all of the models were the initial training, like the initial slurping up the internet, figuring out which word comes after which other word, and then like making the base model. That's all pretty similar across all of the different models. So where they change is what's called the in like reinforcement learning. So like there's a fine tuning phase after that big slurp up and use a transformer model phase. And that's where the machine learns to align with human preferences. And so it's really actually giving, like, it'll give you, they have humans that rate the outputs of these things. And they sort of tell those humans, like, okay, give the machine a point when it, you know, says this type of thing, and give it like a thumbs down when it says this type of thing. And then like through many iterations, the machine is sort of trained to sort of like, almost like training a dog, like trained to kind of do more of this and like less of this. And so there were like real decisions at each of these foundation models about like, what are we gonna reward, and what are we going to like discourage? And so Gemini is trained, like at least in the papers that I read. Now, these papers are now at least 3 or 4 years old. So like they could have changed their mind. But from the papers that I read, Gemini is very much trained to not act as a human. And so every time in those, like in that reinforcement learning phase, it acted like a human, it like got like down points. Whereas like clearly ChatGPT was not trained that way. And like ChatGPT was trained to be like, the more emojis, the better. And like, always pretend to be a human. Like pretend you have menstrual cycles, not a problem. And so like for me, I just personally, in my own personal usage, I just personally find that creepier. And so like I find that more manipulative when I'm using it. I feel like it's just like I have that like uncanny valley feeling when I'm using ChatGPT. And I kind of like, it's hard to not remember that it's not a person because it's kind of pretending to be a person. And so I prefer personally using Gemini because I know that it was trained in a way, and it does act that way. It's boring, like it's comparatively boring, but because it's kind of boring, I don't find it as distracting, I guess. So like I think that's why a lot of people have real preferences with their models, because like we're all fall in different places on this continuum because we're using it for different reasons, right? Like I'm not going to ChatGPT for like a therapy session, and so like I don't need that. I'm going to Gemini for like, how do I do XYZ with XYZ tool and this one? And is it possible to do this? Like I'm going these needle in a haystack type things. And so like, I don't actually need the emojis. And like, that's a great question. That to me is just like shut up,
Do you think like when I think sometimes and just the way you're describing the different models and kind of like the response and how it rates things, I think that the ChatGPT experience almost reminds me of TikTok in a way, and it's because it's feeding you what you want. So it's like, hey, you watch these 3 videos, you interacted with them. I'm going to give you more of that because that's what you want. You'll stay on this longer. You'll be here longer. You'll be using it longer. You'll be willing to pay for this month, so you can have more searches. So it's more of a pleasing type thing than the other way around with some of the other ones. And so
100%. And I think like, one of the best, I mean, I've listened to lots of stuff about like society and AI, but one of the most interesting takes on it is from the last episode in a podcast called Good Robot. So I can give you the link afterwards, but it was just a really interesting take on how on some level, all of these chatbots are really just like mirrors on ourselves. Like more than anything, you're kind of talking to yourself. And so as you were saying, like, like it's just giving you back what you want, right? Like, it's like, I've heard many people explain it as like an improv thing, right? It's like the machine then says, yes, and like, it's always like, oh, and let's take it one step further. And so like, especially as you have longer and longer conversations. And I should mention that like reinforcement learning thing that I explained, where like they've been trained to do less of this and more of this, it all kind of breaks down. Like, when you've been having a chat that goes really long. And so like they have not managed to keep the guardrails on as the chat gets longer and longer, which is why you get all these like experiences of people like having just truly crazy experiences because they've had this one chat going for so long that they're well past like where the guardrails work. And now it's just like, it's like open season. Like it's like, it's going to say lots of stuff and they don't have any control really over, they didn't train it for people to go that long. And so the guardrails just don't work as well when you go for a really long time on a chat. And that's like across all the models. So that's where you get all like the crazy, like you wouldn't believe what ChatGPT said type stories in the news. It's because like the longer you stay on one chat, the more deep you are into the specificities of, that conversation, the more kind of off the rails it can get.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Like just like thinking and being able to ask you these questions and you being so knowledgeable in the things, like I'm just learning so much right now. Is there a way that somebody can like easily get more knowledge from you? Like so how can you get more knowledge from you, girl?
Yeah, I'm a fount of knowledge if you want it. On a very prosaic sense, because this conversation went like super deep and super interesting. But if you just want to know how to show up well in AI search, if you just want to make sure that your brand is generally showing up well when people ask about your brand on ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these models, I have a cheat sheet for that. So if you go to wordsontherise.com/AI, you can download my little cheat sheet, 5 things that I think all brands really should be paying attention to, including small brands. Like this is really aimed at small brands. And so like, this is a new world of AI search, people finding information in different ways. Like, what should you be doing now on your site to like make sure that you have a generally good chance of like AI speaking nicely about you online?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the cheat sheet. But more importantly, this whole, like, after I finished this research project, I reignited my email newsletter, which is creatively called the Words of the Rise email newsletter. And I'm writing about basically what I'm discovering in terms of AI search for small brands. And I mean, it is not a very big newsletter. I do not have thousands of people. I think I'm at 375. But I love it because it's the people that I know, like, who have kind of seen me speak or something. And yeah, I'm just like, it is a changing world. And so like, there's more to write about than there was 2 years ago. And I'm actually having quite a lot of fun. And you can be rest assured that every word on that newsletter is from me, because you just heard that I don't use AI to write. So I really, I have a lot of fun writing that. It comes out usually every 2 weeks, but honestly, like, I'm all about being human. And so like, sometimes it doesn't come out every 2 weeks. Sometimes it comes out every 3 weeks. Sometimes I do 2 in a week. It really is just like when I have something to say, then I write. And I just breaking all the rules when it comes to consistency, but I'm being human.
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. And I will definitely link that so people can check that out. And I have already like gotten the AI cheat sheet, and it's great. So highly recommend that. But I hate to like be at the end of the conversation, but I do want to, like, I've had so much fun, first of all. Second of all, thank you again, Michelle, for being my first guest on Creative Confessions. It's so exciting. I don't know where this is going to go and what it's going to take us and everything, but I just knew that, you know, people like on my newsletter and people in my sphere need to know more about you, need to know more about AI search, and yeah, just get to know you a little bit. Honestly, like, that's what I just loved talking with you. So I just want to say thank you. Do you have any final words?
Honored to be here. Love your newsletter. And I'm just, yeah, so excited to talk about AI with people, and excited that you wanted to talk to me. So thank you so much for having me on.
Perfect. Thank you.